Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, December the 3rd, 2024. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. A little bit late today, but some of you thought we weren't going to show. You Michigan fans that have joined in, I'm sure, are happy the show has gotten started. Got the Dean, Bill Kurelic, and Mark Porter coming up. We are going to have all you need for tomorrow's National Signing Day, and then we will finish off the show with a look at the Buckeye in the sky, a little more talk about the Michigan game and how glorious that was. But first, notice how the days are shorter, but your to-do lists aren't. Power through your busy days with our sponsor, Factor's No Prep, No Mess Meals. These are not the TV dinners with the little shortcake in there and the frozen Salisbury steak. These are easy, nutritious options, easy for me to say, to keep you fueled and feeling your best. Whether you like routine or mixing things up, they've got 35 delicious meals every week, 60 additional convenience options you can add to your box, like keto cookies, pressed juices, and smoothies. Don't let the shorter days slow you down. There's no sacrificing quality for convenience with Factor. Weekly menus offer ways to treat yourself to a restaurant-like meal experience with gourmet plus dishes that feature premium proteins and seasonal sides like broccolini, leeks, and asparagus. How does truffle butter filet mignon or garlic herb roasted barramundi sound? Mouth-watering, I know. Head to factormeals.com/50bucknuts and use code 50bucknuts to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code 50bucknuts, 50bucknuts at factormeals.com/50bucknuts to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping while your subscription is active. And now I will bring in the men of the hour. Gentlemen, I believe this is called the hangover phase. However, Ohio State got some tremendous news yesterday to kind of balance things out, and that was the commitment of what will be a five-star quarterback in Brady Edmonds out of California. For those of you who have been devotees of the show here, we have broken down his tape several times. Those of you who are listening on the podcast are going to want to get the YouTube version of this because we're going to have some tape up here in a sec. And this is a guy you want to see. Bill, he got crystal balled to Ohio State a little while back, and then there were a couple other visits. Maybe some other schools got in the mix. But now that signing day is almost here, and keep in mind, this is a 2027 quarterback. Big-time pickup, and the name we're going to use as a comparison eventually should get people very excited. Your thoughts on Brady Edmonds, his recruitment, what it means for quarterback, yada, yada.
Well, you have a 6'5", 200+ pound young man that's only a sophomore in high school, and you beat out a lot of good schools for him, including you beat out Michigan for him. Always good to beat Michigan on the recruiting trail. But he had a Final Four of Ohio State, Texas, Michigan, Penn State. Obviously, committed after being back at Ohio State this past weekend. A lot of people automatically thought, well, this commitment will never stick. He's a 2027 quarterback, and it is a long time. But also keep in mind that, he's always wanted to be a Buckeye. He's got ties to Ohio. He's a California kid now, but his grandfather's from the Cleveland area. Family, grew up to some extent in Ohio. So it's not like he is just a West Coast kid with no ties to Ohio. He's long wanted to be a Buckeye. So it is a long time, but we'll see. The Ohio State certainly has a great track record for quarterbacks, and they had a pretty good one from California by the name of C.J. Stroud. So it's an important pickup, no doubt.
Mark, he had a quote in there that said, "I've always felt like I've been a Buckeye my whole life, and now it's official," which is a great thing to hear from a Californian. But as we bring up the video, I'm going to get a little hyperbolic here in that I can't remember the quarterback they've recruited with an arm this good. You can take it from here.
Yeah, I think the only comparisons, like Bill mentioned, C.J. Stroud, a big, tall guy that's going to stand in the pocket and fire rockets. Cardell Jones, had a big arm, kind of the same thing. But the Justin Herbert comparisons are probably the best comparisons you can get, mostly because he's that type of an athlete. And Justin Herbert, when he takes off running, he's a big deal in the NFL. He can really move, and this kid can move too. But the flick of the wrist is what you're really buying, the talent that's the premium here. He flips the ball out of here for a young kid. And if you project that with a little more strength and, more reps and stuff, you really, get to see a heck of a player here. It's a crazy how young this kid is. Having a kid that's about this age, I know how their body's transforming, and I know how much meat is left on the bone to develop with weight room and speed training and stuff like that. And so what you're seeing on film, and even at the beginning of this video, you saw the awards, like the most passing yards in California. That's a pretty big state. There's a lot of balls being thrown around on Friday nights. And, boy, the offense this kid in really suits his style. And, I mean, the college and NFL throws, you see flashes of those on tape where he's getting this ball and driving it into areas that most kids aren't driving it. And then the throws like that are just the routine flicks where other kids really got to get their feet set, and it takes a lot. So that's what you're getting out of him, an obvious drop back style guy that can paint different areas of the field. And that's what you need when you're trying to stretch college defenses. And what this is really about is him going to the NFL probably. And will Ohio State develop him for that? Of course. But this is a pro style kid who probably made a decision on who can get me to the next level of best. And we know Ohio State's development for a lot of these positions.
One of the reasons I said Herbert when we discussed this last night is Herbert goes for throws that other guys don't go for because of his arm. Does that make sense? Like, Brady is already throwing passes that other guys don't even attempt.
I think when you have an arm like that, you see throws like that in your head that you can make because of your arm strength. And you see those tiny windows. And when you're standing 20, 30 yards downfield, that doesn't overwhelm your arm. It doesn't feel like, you have that juice in you to make those throws. And, and then the next part of it is you're a trigger puller. There's a lot of kids at this age that are slow to pull triggers, and this kid pulls the trigger when he sees it.
Like I said, I don't think how he'll turn out in 2 years to go and stuff like that. But as a sophomore, just purely speaking of arm talent, that's the best I've seen in a long time to come to here, which is saying something because, Ohio State has become a quarterback factory and they're in great shape. So that's wonderful. And as you continue to feel sorrow, know that this is really the way to get back and get to where you want is great quarterback play. And I think this guy is going to eventually provide that. And they have guys in line to do that as well. All right, Bill, we're going to sort of take a look back here and then pitch it forward. So tomorrow is National Signing Day. It is not the site crashing big day of the year that it used to be. For those who have been at Bucknutters for a long period of time. Terrell Pryor on signing day crashed the site to say he wasn't going to sign on signing day. That was the beginning of a long, glorious journey with Terrell that got us a lot of page views, but I digress. Bill, who was here this past weekend that we need to discuss? And then you're going to have the floor here for a bit. Try and pitch that forward and let us know what's going on tomorrow. We're going to, if you look in the chat, the questions have already come. Tomorrow is the day we're going to find out with a lot of dudes. So, Bill, the flow is yo.
Well, as far as this past weekend, first of all, everybody talks about the Ohio State offensive line, and there were some pretty darn good ones in Ohio Stadium on Saturday. Sam Greer, who he's so important for Ohio State to get him. So important. I saw him this year, and I thought his improvement was really, really good. Darius Gray, who is from Virginia, who likes Ohio State a lot, and Adam Guthrie from Miami Trace, Washington Courthouse. We're all in Ohio Stadium on Saturday. You move to the safeties, Braylon Womack, Caden Gebhardt, who I saw in person and liked a lot. Got offered by Ohio State on Saturday. Ryan Day personally offered him before the game on Saturday. We're in Ohio Stadium. Sincere Johnson, Jacob Weatherspoon, and Elbert Hill were in Ohio State at Ohio State on Saturday. And by the way, what a group of talent. There was 4 guys sitting together. You had Naeem Offord and Devin Sanchez sitting basically right next to each other in one row. And then you had in the row right above them, or I should say below them, were Jacob Weatherspoon and Elbert Hill. That's 4 elite cornerbacks. You move to Aiden Harris and Andrew Harris. Aiden Harris likes Ohio State a lot. Was in Ohio Stadium. You move to the official visits. BP Miller is committed, and Epi Santelli is a guy that could flip from UCLA to Ohio State. We'll see. And then finally, you move to, I mentioned BP Miller, but you mentioned move to the current commitments. You had 3 guys that have kind of been talked about or discussed as far as flipping. Naeem Offord, as I mentioned, was at that game. TJ Tarvos Alford was at that game. And Jarquez Carter was at that game. Jarquez told me afterwards that he said, I've already told Ohio State, he said, I'm coming. I'm going to sign with Ohio State on Thursday. He said he has told Miami that, but he said Miami has not stopped recruiting me. So you got to, hold your breath a little bit there. And he's not signing till Thursday afternoon. So you got to hold your breath a little longer on that one. But he has told me flat out that he has decided on Ohio State. But we all know in this day and age of the NIL, you just don't know till it's done. As far as flips to and flips from Ohio State, I think that's the big thing for tomorrow. You've got 3 guys. I mentioned Offord, Alford, and Carter. The 2 biggest question marks there are what is Offord going to do and what is TJ Alford going to do? Then you've got 3 guys that could flip to Ohio State. Turbo Rogers, who I've had crystal ball to Ohio State for a bit. I had Ohio State's chances to flip him tomorrow. No, it's not a flip anymore. He decommitted from Alabama. Now he's making a final decision between Ohio State and Georgia. So you've got him. You've got Epi Santelli that I talked about. And then one that wasn't in Ohio Stadium on Saturday, Aiden West. It's going to be Ohio State or Michigan State for him. So, we've got to see what happens on. I think it's going to be an interesting signing day. What do those guys do?
Bill, you're going to get the question that everyone's going to want to know the answer to. David Sanders committed to Tennessee. We thought he might be back here this weekend. He was not. There was some enthusiasm after his visit for the Indiana game. But as you say, Bill, let's wait a few days for the visit buzz to hang out, to wear off. Has it worn off too much? Your thoughts?
Well, he hasn't made any final official announcement, definitive, I am going to sign with Tennessee or Ohio State. Having said that, I think he signs with Tennessee.
Why is that?
Just the general vibes I'm getting from people and, how things have gone and all. I just, that's what I feel right now.
Well, we have Carlo in the fold, and that's good too. So, all right.
But again,
let's talk.
He's not made any definitive statement of what he is going to do.
Michigan fans have gotten a hold of my phone number. Did that make sound there? Did you hear that ringing?
Yeah, that's Brad.
Oh, you guys heard that? No, Brad, believe me, you would know if it was Brad. He's on patrol today. He has already, I'm not going to say he's worn out his welcome. Will Howard's health? No. This is the one that I think everyone, Bill, like David Sanders, let's just wait. We shall see. I wonder how things are going down the stretch. I know that in basketball, there was a recruit recently who was committing on a Wednesday and was taking bids until Tuesday night at 9 p.m. And so things have changed here. What about the other guys, Bill? Tarvis Offord. People think he was going to flip to Miami or Florida State, and he visited. What's your vibe on those? Do you think if you had to rank the guys now, if you had to put your butt on the line here for Offord and Alford, do you think they'll be in the mix? Because that's really what people want to know. You're not going. We won't hold you. I mean, no one really looks back on these, and you can say whatever you want. I'm kidding, but yours just thoughts on how it's going to work out, because that's all we really need to know now, I think.
Well, with Naeem Offord, the talk has continued to be 3 schools, but really it's not 3 schools; it's 2 schools. The talk is Ohio State, Auburn, Oregon, but really it's Ohio State or Auburn. And I honestly don't think we are going to know for sure until he announces. Remember Jeremiah Smith last year and Ryan Day not knowing for sure until it was for sure, until he signed. I think nobody knows until he announces. And at some points, the vibe has been Ohio State. Some point, if you talk to people on the Auburn side, they're relatively confident that he's going to flip. I can find people on the Ohio State side that, in fact, I've talked to that like Ohio State's chances to keep him. And we just are not going to know until he decides, but it'll be one of the 2. As far as Alford, I think that I think he wants to go to Ohio State, but Miami is just like Carter, Jarquez Carter. They are not stopped the recruiting of him. Again, he's going to announce tomorrow, and we'll find out. I guess it's just impossible to say which way those guys are going to go right now until they announce. I really believe that.
I did see that before we came on here, and I will need to get a hold of the name, but an Alabama cornerback who is committed to Auburn is crystal ball to flip to Alabama. So that doesn't hurt. I showed you guys last week, I think 9 of the top 10 commitments in the state, 9 of the top 11 commitments in the state of Alabama were committed to Auburn, and the 2 that weren't were committed to Ohio State, and Zion Grady and Naeem Offord. And you got Turbo Rogers, who was crystal ball, who was about ranked 13th. So let's see on that one. I hope it works out. Here's another thing I hope it works out. If you were at the game this weekend, it was bitter cold, but it was very, very sunny. I can tell you for a fact. And I had my Gooders on, Gooder sunglasses. They are what you need to get your hands on. Gifts starting at just $25. Gooder are high-quality sunglasses for less than your super expensive ones that you lose, and then you question whether you ever want to see straight again. Gifts starting at $25. Fun, fashionable, functional for sports fanatics in your life. They got the Bolt G, the Wrap G, and the Flex G. You got fashionistas. They got them for everybody. You got a smaller noggin. They got the LFG, may or may not be short for little blanking Gooders. If you're giving Gooder as a gift, make sure to order before December 16th. You got 13 days to get them in time for Christmas. I rock them because I have gone to this would have been a perfect example this past weekend of a game you go to in the sun. You start hanging out. After the game, you're tailgating again to drown your sorrows. You lose your glasses, and you're out $250, whatever you paid for those Varnays or Ray-Bans. Gooders, you can buy 3 pairs and wear different ones in each half and be good. So starting at just $25, you can give the gift of Gooder to anyone this holiday season. Gooder is offering Bucknuts users free shipping. Go to gooder.com/Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. You got a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Gooder.com/Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. People are getting a little loose in the thread here. Let's keep it together. Some guys are losing it. All right. Before we talk more recruiting, we are going to take a look at the eye and the sky. Now, Yes, it was hard to watch in person. And to make it any better for you guys, we went to the tape, and Mark does every week, 2 parts to kind of let you know the deal. Mark, I will let you take it away.
Okay, there's a lot of themes we could have, dove into here, but one of the themes in the game is the cornerback was out for Michigan that was their top player. And if you remember in years past with the Mike Minter defense and the Clink and Skill secondary, it was press, man-to-man, in your face. And if you remember Ohio State in the past running crossing routes, trying to run away from that secondary, and the speed of the Ohio State receivers could do that. This year, what I noticed is a totally different theoretical approach from Michigan on defense. They come out in a lot of cover 2, cover 4 shells, but they played an over-the-top, keep everything in front of you type defense and type attitude all day. And starting, early in the game, and you can say it's out of respect to the Ohio State receivers, out of fear of the Ohio State receivers, out of, just their lack of personnel. But when you have this type of soft coverage, and we're picking on the guy at the top of the screen there, these guys are backing out of there to snap the ball and giving you hitches and slants and quick outs and routes underneath. And they're just going to run up and rally and tackle you and ask you to keep doing that all day. And I think what was interesting is in the first half, you saw a lot of high completion percentage stuff. And to me, I think Chip Kelly, and this is just me watching it, he kind of went through the greatest hits of, okay, we'll take all this underneath yardage. And, okay, when we need our second and, third down or short yardages, we'll go to the run game. But at a certain point, I think he didn't go back through that same bag of tricks. Like, okay, I've already called the slant. I've already called the out. I've already called the hitch. I've already, and I think the secondary for Michigan, as they were playing off, started to play aggressively downhill because they weren't fearing things going over the top anymore because they're standing 10, 15 yards deep. They're simply not going to let anybody get over the top. So they were coming in a downhill fashion. I mean, there's some plays we break down on here. You'll see that. And what kind of is what's weird to explain is how does a soft secondary end up playing so aggressive? And it's like counterintuitive, but it actually worked out that way. Next play we're going to break down here is a short yardage play. This is when, they have Orgy in at quarterback. So everyone should be on alert that, hey, the running quarterback is in. Like, don't let him be the guy that beats you here. Make him throw a fade on us, play some tight coverage and go after him. And that's what Ohio State does here. You see the green arrows there pointing up. There's 4 guys, linebackers up there. That's 8 in the box. And Caleb Downs is hounding the box too. I mean, he's kind of right there ready to make a play. Sonny Styles, I think, was the victim here. They're going to try to kick him out and hit the seam, and he's that edge player. He does such a great job of going into this fullback at 100 miles an hour because it's the kick-out block. And you see this on the other cut of the film, that Sonny Styles is facing this fullback when he takes him on, and he hits him so hard, he keeps his eyes inside, and he doesn't realize the play has ever bounced. And Caleb Downs is doing what he's supposed to do. Run that alley, meet him head-to-head. It's like almost like the hole's blocked for Caleb Downs to run through. And as he gets there and it's bounced, Styles should have that outside arm free. That's what you teach those guys. But he is staring inside. And then this play bounces. Now, the remarkable thing about this play is Caleb Downs is engaged right there. And look at him turn and burn. We know Orgy is a premier athlete, and Downs just runs him out like he's not even there. So
that might have been a touchdown had he not done that.
That should have been a touchdown. I mean, it was blocked. It was there. And Caleb Downs, if you want to know why that punt return is special and why this was special, his speed is off the charts. Okay, he really can make a difference, just run. I'd like to see him more on offense. So here again, talking about that shell, look at these DBs, how far off the ball they are. I mean, this is really like, hey, guys, you want a 5-yard hitch? It's yours. 9 yards off the ball. It's really signifying, we fear this. So I don't know how to say, like, Ohio State did go after this stuff early. I don't know if I pause this or it's still playing. Okay. But, this was the game plan early on out of Michigan. I don't know if my screen froze here or, let me see here. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what happens here down by the goal line, and I do explaining this, is you don't go 5-step out of your own end zone and send guys down the field. You risk a sack, and that's a disaster. So the defense is sitting on the 3-step, and I think I froze this right where Will Howard's back foot hits the ground. You can see these guys, they're all standing flat-footed. They're not in back pedals. They're standing there waiting for which short route are you going to run, the out, the hitch, the slant, and they're going to come downhill on it. And I don't want to say this was a predictable call, but the Michigan defense playing soft, it played right into their hands. This defensive back is going to just sit on this, and the biggest play of the game could be this play and this mistake to throw this ball. I know you want to get out of the end zone, and I'm not questioning play calling, but it looked like they were giving you that hitch, but instead it was bait that we're going to play downhill. And he might have been a cover 2 corner who was covering the flats, the way he was.
What do you make of the throw?
Yeah. And
what do you make of the throw? The throw is kind of inside and hangs.
Yeah. I think we were talking in a private thread. Let's go back and watch all Will Howard's film and look for the NFL throws. And those are fewer and farther between. So if there is one knock on Will Howard's game, it's that arm strength. And on a throw like that, a microsecond or a half of a tick is a big deal. A half of a tick to the inside is a big deal. But I think the bigger deal was just Michigan was sitting on that. You could have done a lot of other things. And I don't know if Will wants to eat that and take a safety, but that throw might not have been there. Next play we're looking at, Michigan's got 6 in the box, so this is easy run stuff for Ohio State. You just, hey, we got 6 down there. Let's pound these guys and get the yardage. I thought this was really unique. They were playing for like a bubble screen, Michigan, as with 4 defenders out there. They're really worried about those receivers. This kind of is like one of these flukes in the game, and I'll pause this year. You got all these guys coming down that are biting on this dive here, and you're going to run this zone read concept. This is what was different is I'm going to pause it. Is this guy right here, usually you have your receiver come out and block him on a running play. But on this fake, you're hoping that he honors this and somehow goes outside with this to respect that. So if Will's going to pull out of here and this guy's blocked and this guy's playing that far off, you simply dump it to him and it's, hey, just follow your blocker for a couple yards. I don't know if Will got greedy here and said, wow, this guy crashed. I'm just going to go play hero ball and go get this, which is a smart play. But with an unblocked defender, this guy's going to come downhill, and he changes the game with a hit and a full head of steam where if Ohio State either just blocks him, and you see him, he's not even honoring that bubble fake. It's not like he's running out there. But Will sees this green grass, but, boy, does he trigger and come up and put a shot on Will there. You think of the what ifs in a game like this, and that play right there is a bunch of what ifs. What if we didn't run the bubble fake there and we just blocked? What if he did throw the bubble there and he runs down the sidelines for a 20-yard gain? What if he just got that extra inch? And the what ifs on a week like this, I can see it in the comments. Boy, is it tough to be a coach? Is it tough to be a player in any game in a one possession? But this game, these plays will be picked apart and dissected for weeks and looking for people's heads to hang on why this happened.
One of the things that's interesting about covering football is that we can break down the film. Yes, we can do that. But if you don't really know the play that was called specifically, it's hard to place blame always on.
Like even on that Will Howard, that last play, I got picky. Like, is he going on his own to run it here? Because that's an unblocked defender. Should he have thrown it? Was that just window decoration out there and it wasn't something he was even supposed to look at? Or was it supposed to be a handoff? We have no idea what was said in the helmet before. Hey, Will, you're probably going to want to keep this one. Or, hey, Will, hand this off for sure. Or, hey, what, so you don't know. And you hate to ever say, this is why this went wrong. But watching it and seeing the different options just on that play are pretty astounding.
So we have the first half up for you today. You need to be premium, and there's a good reason for that is you get stuff like this. We will get the second half later today, and that is always, like we say, the reason we call it the Buckeye in the sky is because of the classic term, the eye in the sky does not lie. There's just so much stuff you can learn from the tape. And I was kind of alluding to that, like Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, they know whose fault it was. Theirs, whoever's on every play. They know if it was a great call by the other team. They know. So I imagine that makes it somewhat difficult to sit up there and be the boss and take crap for stuff when you know it was someone else's fault, yada, yada. But that's part of being the boss, I guess. All right, William. Let's finish this off by doing this. Tomorrow, National Signing Day. How are we doing it? In the past, everyone was gathered around the fax machine, which is such a goofy thing to think about. I don't even know if they're still doing that. What is the process for tomorrow? When do you expect the commitments to start rolling in? Of the guys that we're waiting for, do any of them have announcements scheduled, etc.? So get us set up for tomorrow if you could.
Well, there is no more national letter of intent. I think probably a lot of people out there know that. They've done away with the national letter of intent. Instead, the prospects, recruits, commitments sign a financial agreement. And, by the way, that's a binding agreement both ways. They sign that, it's binding for them to that school, and the schools, it's binding for the school as well. And as Dietrich said, DocuSign is the new way. So they will be signing those tomorrow, and they're at all different times. Some kids have told me 2:30 in the afternoon, some at 10:30, so on, all different times. Jarquez Carter, I mentioned him. His is Thursday afternoon at 3:00. So it's just up to the kid when they want to do it. The signing period is, most kids will sign tomorrow, but it is a 3-day period: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So again, we'll be watching that all day long and seeing as these kids sign and all that. I put an article on our site this morning that out of Ohio State's current 25 commitments, 22 are going to be early graduates. And only 3 of those current 25 are not going to be early graduates. So most of this class is going to be arriving at Ohio State in early January. And Devin Sanchez and the whole gang, they're going to get a start on their career. Most of them will be moving into Ohio State on January 4th, and classes start on January 6th.
I think we'll leave it with this. Daniel Sanchez, father of future Buckeye Devin Sanchez, who's playing Saturday in round 4 in Texas. God knows how many rounds they have in that state. You can go into the double digits, and I believe you. But let's bring this back in here. Yes, the windshield is bigger than the rear view. A reason look forward. Your desire to win, Buckeye fans, will be back by the time we kick off again. So just let it kind of percolate, and it will take care of itself. We appreciate these guys stopping by. Again, National Signing Day is tomorrow. We should get some answers over the next few days. The only thing we can guarantee you is it's going to be goofy. National Signing Day used to be goofy, and now with the NIL above board, it is just downright goofy. So we appreciate everybody stopping by, even you Michigan fans who helped us get our bonus this month. All right, have a good one, Bucknutters.